document and get started on creating our cartoon. All right, so the program I'm in is Illustrator. Go through, Command N is going to get your new document box up. We're going to create a new document, going to print, letter. You guys know we always work in inches. All right, I'm going to give this my last name, Hope_CD. All right, we're going to be working in portrait. Going to have one artboard. For now, we're not going to worry about a bleed or any advanced settings, and we're working in letter. So go ahead and press create. All right, so once you guys press create, you're introduced to your new document layout. All right, on the side, I have my tools, I have my character box. I'll get rid of a couple of these things. All right, so first we're going to start off by setting our margins. All right, Command R is going to bring up your rulers. All right, so in order to set your margins, you guys should already know how to do this. But if you don't, we're going to click in our ruler, click, hold, drag that mouse out, and we're going to drop it at 1/2 inch. All right, so we're going to set our perimeter margins at 1/2 inch. Once you have your perimeter margins set, we're going to go back in and set our center margin. So we know our vertical center is 4.25 and our horizontal center is going to be set at 5.5. Okay, and the way that we got those measurements is our document is 8.5 by 11. So 8 divided by 2 is going to give me 4.25. 11 divided by 2 is going to give me 5.5. All right, so you find your center by simply dividing the size of your document. All right, so once I have my margins set, I want to make sure that they are locked into place and that they do not move. To ensure that, we're going to go to View, Guides, Lock. So since mine says unlock, that means my guides already are locked. All right, so if it says unlocked, you don't have to do anything. All right, so my guides are not going to move. They're just going to be there in place. Cool. All right, so today we're also going to go over how to use your gradients. All right, so we're going to start with our cartoon character. We're going to use the ellipse tool. And all of this, because you are the designer, is completely up to you as far as how big your circles, your eyes, and things will be. All right, the goal is to follow along and make your cartoon character. All right, so I use my ellipse tool to make a circle. It's kind of big, I'm gonna take it down. All right, so once I've made my circle, I've centered my circle on my document. And as you can see, the colors for my circle right now are, my fill is white and my stroke is black. All right, so once I've made my circle, the next tool I want to use is the direct selection tool. And with that tool, I just want to move this point right here up just a tad. So as you know, your direct selection tool allows you to manipulate and move your lines and your anchor points. All right, so once I've made my circle and kind of warped it a little bit, the next tool I want to use is the gradient tool. All right, I select the gradient tool. Let me go get the gradient. All right, you're gonna go to Window Gradient, and that's gonna bring up your gradient box. There we go. All right, so just to go back, I selected my gradient tool over here in my toolbox. I also went to Window Gradient, which bring up my gradient toolbar. So you can see you can play around with the actual gradient shades. Okay, I only want my gradient applied to my fill and not my stroke. All right, so once you've played around with it a little bit, you can see your gradient transition of your colors. I want you to select the radial gradient. Here you have your linear, next you have your radial. Okay, so you want to select our radial gradient. When you're dealing with your gradient toolbar, you can add sliders down at the bottom, which would be different colors. So I added a couple of sliders by simply kind of clicking here. It says plus. That'll let you add those little sliders. If you happen to not want all of these sliders, like I don't want this black slider, I can click it and pull it off. I think I kind of want that one. And turn my guides off so you guys can see. So here, like I said, you can add more sliders and you also can get rid of them. Okay, so I got rid of my black slider. And then you can play around with that color or your transition. There we go. I'm gonna a little bit lighter. Okay. So now it looks like it's kind of 3D-ish because that light is hitting the center and rounding out your edges is getting a little bit darker. All right, so the next part we're going to go back and use our ellipse tool. And this time we're going to go to the top and we're going to create our ears. All right, and for my ears, I kind of want my outside to be a little bit darker. All right, so that's one. Next, I'm going to make a copy on top of my circle. So I'm going to do Command C, which is copy, and Command F, which is paste to front. So once I paste to front, you'll see it'll make a duplicate on top of your already circle that you have. And with that, I'm just going to make that second circle a little bit smaller. And play around with my color. See how I want it to transition. Here you have your angles. Okay, I'm going to keep it at 0 and make it radial just to make things easier. All right, so I have my first circle in the back. I have my second circle where I made that copy and made it a little bit smaller. And once I have both of those circles and I have them looking the way that I want to, I'm just going to group these two circles. Okay, I'm just going to group these two circles. All right, and I'm going to group them by selecting them using and holding Shift. So I selected my first circle. I'm going to hold Shift and click my second circle. I can see that both of those circles are selected. Command G, which is group, and now those two circles are grouped together. All right, so once they're grouped together, like I said, if you don't like the size of something, you can hold Shift, enlarge it, or you can scale it and make it smaller. All right, so once I've grouped those objects together, I'm going to send those objects to the back. All right, so I'm going to go to Object, Arrange, Send to Back. And now those ears are behind my first circle. They are pretty huge. All right, so once I've done that, we're going to go through and copy paste. Command C is copy. Command F, paste to front. Then I'm just going to move my ears over.